Hey folks, as you see here, we have another eclipse cycle season update, eclipse cosmic curveball, retrograde madness. Mercury and Venus flipped the script on this eclipse. There's a truck out there flipping the script on me. Not only are they both retrograde, but we have an exalted one, a debilitated one. So as it says here, love and logic take a U-turn. So again, kind of flipping the script. It's not unusual that Mercury and Venus are joined the eclipse because they're never that far away from the sun. But in this case, again, we have both of them retrograde. One is exalted, one is debilitated. What does all that mean? So this is what I'm going to be talking about. And just to also give you a heads up here, I'm also doing a gathering. There's a link here below. You could also, it's at samsspecials.com, but March 16th at 3 p.m. Pacific time, and then there'll be a limited replay available afterwards. You can register, and I'm going to do a public live class. Again, it's going to be a couple hours, so you have to register for it, and it'll be live where I'm going to, do some deeper teachings on the Pisces principle, on, tell some stories about how to really understand, because all those stories are very important, particularly as it relates to nakshatras. We'll do some meditations, and I'm going to talk about for each of the 12 signs. So how will this eclipse affect you and your sign? Because again, it's very important as a Pisces person. Maybe it's your first house. If you're a Taurus person, it's your 11th house. So I'm going to go through that, and it'll be literally like an hour and a half or so. And it'll be interactive, but you got to register for it. But anyway, so this is, today I'm going to be talking about how to really understand this, all these retrogrades and the exalted, debilitated, because you have, exalted Venus, but it's retrograde. Debilitated Mercury, but it's retrograde, and it's joined an exalted planet, and the exalted planet has joined the debilitated one. Like, how do you manage all of that? So again, as it says here, also please just subscribe, get notified if you want to, get more updates like this, and leave a positive comment as well. So again, this is a huge transformative time. And I'm going to be doing a couple more videos as well, because Saturn is also coming in behind it. I'm going to talk about that. There's a few other things to talk about in great detail. But for today, we're going to talk about how to really understand not just this particular moment in time where we have an eclipse with an exalted planet, a debilitated planet, and they're both retrograde, but how to understand these principles in general. So again, the eclipse is at least understood of what's happening. The sun is joined the moon, and the sun's light is being blocked at that time. So it's bringing out a deeper perceptive awareness. And it's a Rahu eclipse where it's trying to accelerate a new cycle. So one of the things, again, and this goes back to what each of the 12 signs need to know, and we'll be learning, what is the thing that you're getting accelerated towards right now based on your sign? What? Again, if you're a Scorpio, it's a 5th house thing. If you're a Leo, it's an 8th house thing. If you're Virgo, it's a 7th house thing. It's a Rahu eclipse trying to push you toward a new direction. As the old one is dissolving and you have no choice, something is ending. It has already ended. It's over. For all of us, we can see this. But for you, it's more specific than that. Because the sign of Pisces is going to fall somewhere in your chart. Like for me as Gemini, it falls in my 10th house. So there's a certain aspect of my career, my public life, blah, 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 that's completely changed. By the way, it's been dissolving this last year. So again, this is also the reason to get perspective, because whether you know it or not, or whether you've wanted to face it or not, whether you're trying to hang on to some white knuckle grip for a reality that is gone, you have to let it go. There's something you need to let go of, very specifically. Now, again, if people have planets in Pisces, then it's going to be even more specific, etc. So that's just a backdrop, and I've been talking about that a lot. A lot of videos here where I talk about that. If you're new to the channel or whatever, again, subscribe to get more updates like this, but then go back and just look at the recent eclipse videos that I've been doing. So what does Mercury and Venus retrograde have to do with this? And the fact that there's an exalted one, there's a debilitated one. Well, the retrograde planets, they do, as it says here, they flip the script. They reverse the story, both as their nature as a karaka or indicator. With Venus, it's about agreements that we make. It's about finding happiness and beauty. Now, it's an exalted Venus, so it's exalted in Pisces, where we can find happiness in all things. As my guru Amma says, yes, our nature is to be happy, but happy for no reason. Happy for no reason is the archetype of Venus in Pisces. Because, and again, in that case, it's not even really happiness, it's bliss, it's joy. Joy doesn't have a reason. You might think it is, but it's not. Happiness is an emotion. I've been talking a lot about these things lately. Happiness, in general, has a cause. Oh, I'm petting this puppy. I'm happy. Okay, that's fine. Now the puppy, is getting eaten by a coyote. Oh, now I'm not happy. These are emotions, right? But the happiness that we get has a source that's deeper, which is bliss and joy. Your nature is the bliss and the joy. And love, and even the source of negative emotions that come, there could be a bliss and a joy, not in watching a cruel act, but even though we can see the cruel act, it doesn't take us away from the bliss and joy of the soul when we're established in the bliss and the joy of the soul. So the reason Venus is exalted in Pisces is because, again, and the debilitation is Virgo, because Virgo is all these reasons. The archetype of Venus in Virgo is not just that I'm happy for no reason, but I can find any reason to be unhappy. Just give me enough time, and Virgo will find a problem, which isn't bad with Virgo. Virgo is good in that context because we need to be able to identify things. But the Venus part of us gets bogged down in that. And so the Venus in Pisces archetype is where we can let go of our own need for happiness, desire in that regard, and be at peace with whatever it is. That allows us to make good agreements, by the way, because we're not so attached. So when it goes retrograde, though, again, when a planet is exalted and retrograde, then the exalted part, which is the happiness for no reason, becomes confusing. It's like, well, okay, I could feel this kind of bliss, but what is it really getting me? Is it serving me? Is it doing this? And we have to reflect on it more. We have to reflect on whether or not, because even, as I'm speaking about, good agreements and whatnot, again, if we're just happy for anything and anything makes us happy, at times we can just sort of bypass our needs, what we need in a relationship. So again, retrograde is an introspective sort of corrective process where the difficulty of something becomes more internal and a focal point of awareness. Now, again, there's a general rule that's just a thumbnail rule that says if an exalted planet is retrograde, it cancels the exaltation. Nothing gets canceled. It just adds complexity. And so what this means, and the opposite, if a planet is debilitated in retrograde, like we have with Mercury, then the debility gets canceled. So it doesn't, nothing gets canceled. Everything is added. But what it is indicating is that, for example, when you have that exalted planet, it would be what you would consider to be good. It's giving good results. Like, oh, I'm aware of this thing, right? And so we want to be moving forward with that, because the retrograde is a momentum. It's a direction. So the Venus moving forward and exalted is like, yes, I'm moving forward with this exalted awareness of beauty. When it moves backward, it's like, oh, I'm aware of this exalted beauty, but I'm not sure how to move forward with it. And it becomes introspective. Now, again, introspection is always good, if I could say this way. This is why retrograde is also considered a strength in Vedic teaching. It's not in Western teaching because the retrograde is introspective, it's closer to the earth, and we reflect upon it, which is more powerful because now it becomes an internal force of awareness. But the external thing that it's trying to do, like give us a relationship, make us happy with another person, that becomes compromised because now we're hesitating because it's not moving forward, it's moving backward. So the exalted Venus that's also retrograde is in that situation where even though it's in that higher state, we're not so sure what to do about it. So we're reflecting on things. But again, the benefit of this, especially during the eclipse, is that it's a good time to be reflecting on mistakes you've made in your agreements and also mistakes you've made thinking that you're better than you are. I'm just going to put it very bluntly, because one of the biggest illusions Venus has in general is that we see where everybody else was mean to us, but we don't see where we weren't respectful to another. We all focus on how disrespected we were, not even disrespected how we were, how disrespected we felt. But that could just be our own emotional patterning. Some people feel disrespected no matter what you do. Their nature is to just, because, and they're also some of the most disrespectful people you'll meet. For example, right? So one of the big corrective processes of Venus retrograde, no matter what its dignity, whether it's exalted or debilitated, is it's a time for us to reflect on how we treat others, not obsessed on how we feel we're being treated, because that's what's typically happening with Venus. We're making agreements based on what we want from the other person. And then when the agreement doesn't work out, we blame them instead of looking at ourselves and the agreement that we made because of the desires we have, because of what we want from the person. So we disrespect ourselves by making bad agreements, and then we blame them for the agreement we made. Where again, when Venus is, it's very much a harmonizing energy. That's why in the highest sense it's the ruler of Libra, where we don't pay too high of a price for our happiness, so we don't resent the agreement that we made later. That's when Venus is in balance. But it's usually not. So the Venus retrograde in Pisces really is an exalted vibration of that frequency. And the biggest thing is we can look at ourselves and we can let go of the resentment and the victimization complexes and all the stuff where we've felt so mistreated, and we can look at it clearly and objectively and see that all of our bad agreements, particularly ones we have as an adult. Again, people want to go back into childhood and find the most extreme example. Well, when you were a kid and you were mistreated and disrespected, you couldn't choose that. Okay, so go back to when we had no power. All right, I'm talking about as adults. We're adults trying to work through our karma. I'm talking about the agreements that we get into consciously. People that have 20-year marriages and then finally woke up that they were abusive, narcissistic, this and that after 20 years. Again, these kinds of things, no one can go through something like that without, and then not examine what their part in it, which is that you wanted something. There was something unresolved that you kept going back for. And there was a disrespect mutual on some level. It has to be. Because again, once you respect yourself, you won't allow that to happen. You simply won't. And you'll see it in real time. You'll stop it as soon as it happens. So this is the Venus retrograde process. Now with Mercury, it's different because Mercury's in the debilitated state. And there's the rule that when the debilitated planet is retrograde, it is then the problem of the debility gets reversed. So in the case of Mercury, it's intelligence, discrimination, communication, and I'll talk about that in a second. But first this. Hey folks, on March 16th at 3 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be doing a Pisces eclipse gathering and reset. It's free. All you need to do is register for it, and I'll send you the link. We're going to go through this together, this online event, where we're going to gather and reconnect, navigating the emotional tidal wave of the upcoming Pisces eclipse. Again, March 16th at 3 p.m. There'll be a limited replay available, but we're going to go through each of the 12 signs, what it's going to mean to you based on your sign. There's going to be guided meditation based on the Pisces energy, the eclipse energy. There'll be some spiritual stories about eclipses and about the Pisces themes. Also, again, an overview of each sign, including yours. It's very much time for release, renewal, and a soul awakening. So again, we could ride this wave together. All you need to do is register for free and transform this scary feeling into this calm and peaceful one. I'll do my best to help you with that. So again, just, it's free. You have to register for it. So we're talking about this Mercury, which is debilitated and retrograde. So the same principle, but in reverse. So when you have something that's debilitated, for example, right, then the vibration is confusing. Mercury is debilitated in Pisces because it's where all those details smash together and get blurry. Remember I was saying about Virgo, where we can find all those details. Well, Mercury is exalted in Virgo. That's great for Mercury energy because we get serious about the details. We organize them. We're not just kind of playing around with ideas. Mercury is about being accurate and correct about what we say, about what things mean, getting the right message from what's happening. And in Pisces, it all just kind of blurs together. For example, Mercury is related to money, not wealth, but money, like how much of it you have in your pocket, how much your business has. It's like an accountant, and you want the accountant to base the budget on how much money you actually have, which is Virgo, and even be a little bit conservative and sort of persnickety. Didn't think you'd hear the word persnickety today, did you? About the money, and not just be like, well, we don't really have it, but let's just spend a lot of money and see what happens. It might be fun. I hope it'll all work out. Like, this is kind of Pisces energy, right? So you can see that kind of exalts Venus a little bit because we're like, well, we have some problems, but underneath it all, they're a beautiful person, and let's see what I'm not hanging on to all these problems of what this other person did. I can see the beauty in that. You can see how that elevates Venus energy. But with Mercury energy, it's like it shows up as not understanding things. With it, when people have difficulty with Mercury, they might have a problem telling the truth. Maybe not, but it could be. Not because they're mean people, but because they're just not clear-headed, right? So again, now when this becomes retrograde, then that external kind of, throwing words out, word salads, and not managing the budget well and all that, that kind of energy becomes less reliable. And instead of doing that externally, we can reflect on, well, wait a minute, why am I doing this? Wait a minute, I made that mistake. Let me think about this. Let me slow down and introspect on how I communicate. Again, understand the thing about the retrograde is it's reflective. It goes inward. And our biggest problem is we live our life as if our life is just the world, our body, our emotions, other people. Like, that's the ultimate reality, and it's not. We are the spirit, not the emotions, not the body, the spirit that has taken form. Just like at the end of each day, we take off our clothes and put on new ones at the beginning of the next day, so too does the soul. Take off the body in one lifetime and put on a new body at the beginning. It's Bhagavad Gita, right? So your nature is the awareness. You are the awareness inside, not the emotions, not the actions, not the desires, not all of that stuff. All of that is ego, right? So again, anytime we can reflect and question and doubt what we're doing externally, even though it doesn't feel good, and by the way, it doesn't feel good to the ego, but there's awareness that wakes up. So with the Mercury retrograde, this pattern wakes up and we become less certain that all of our confusing stories are correct because we believe them. I'm saying these things now, but every story in your head, you believe. You believe it. You believe what you believe, what you think about who you are and the world. You're listening to me right now going, yeah, but I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Okay, here's Sam talking about I'm not emotions. Here he is, da-da-da. And you have a story going about everything. And you believe it. And not just you, so do I. Okay? But what is the story? Is it a correct story? Do you understand how all this works? I don't have to ask. You don't. Neither do I. None of us do. So the most powerful Mercury is the one that realizes it isn't the one that's so proud of all the stuff they've been able to figure out or how smart they are, how well they can communicate. The real powerful Mercury is the one that realizes I have no idea about anything. I have no clue what's going on. Barely. Right? And I don't have to. I can release it and let go. So again, this is also why planets that are retrograde and debilitated can be very powerful because they're already in a place where there's not so much confidence in it. And again, like with Mercury and Pisces, we can just kind of let go. We're like, yeah, that's right. I have no idea what's happening. So, okay. And it's Pisces. So we can just let it go. Let that story go and rewrite the script. It says Mercury and Venus flip the script. Love and logic take a U-turn, right? So it's like they're exalted but debilitated. Or I'm sorry, they're exalted but retrograde. Debilitated but retrograde. And they're joined each other. So again, start with this. And so the eclipse is also just fueling all of this and bringing all of this into play. So again, this is very powerful. And again, I invite you to join me March 16th, where I'm going to go over these things in much greater detail. I've done several of these this year where we all just sort of gather. And I do it because I don't want to do it just kind of live on YouTube, a 2-hour thing. It hurts the analytics on the channel. Plus, whatever. This is a real teaching. It's like a satsang, right? And by the way, also, if you want to see how this eclipse is going to affect you, you should join the member site, particularly at the examiner level or the visionary level, and get forecasts. But aside from that, again, I'll run this little blurb at the end here again to get you to register, and I hope to see you on March 16th. And again, there's a replay available if you can't make it in real time. But either way, again, we have a great time right now to be releasing certain aspects of our life. I'm going to be doing a couple more videos about this eclipse. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and whatnot, especially on Saturn moving in and also Rahu, Saturn, and other things. So you take care. Hey folks, on March 16th at 3 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be doing a Pisces eclipse gathering and reset. It's free. All you need to do is register for it, and I'll send you the link. We're going to go through this together, this online event, where we're going to gather and reconnect, navigating the emotional tidal wave of the upcoming Pisces eclipse. Again, March 16th at 3 p.m. There'll be a limited replay available, but we're going to go through each of the 12 signs, what it's going to mean to you based on your sign. There's going to be guided meditation based on the Pisces energy, the eclipse energy. There'll be some spiritual stories about eclipses and about the Pisces themes. Also, get this great ebook on Rahu and Ketu, the lunar nodes, where it's a flip book. You can play it on your phone. You can also download a PDF of this book, a normal PDF, but it goes through all of the important aspects of Rahu and Ketu and where they are in your chart, even important qualities of the nodes and when they're joined planets and whatnot. So check this out, download it. It's very unique. When you click the join button below this video, you'll be allowed to become a member. Most join at the Oracle $29.99 per month. That level gives you numerous forecasts each month, full moon and new moon forecasts, 2 weekly forecasts, both the regular forecast and the Vedic week ahead, as well as exclusive courses like the Planets and Signs course, Planets and Houses course, the 2025 meditation, and also monthly meditation. So check it out. For a limited time, I'm offering 10 hours of masterclasses, Yoga and Vedic Astrology, Quantum Vedic Astrology, and Spiritual Astrology Masterclass. These are 3 great courses that will really help you a lot. Now, in case you don't know who I am, I taught the Astroved certification course, Dattatreya Shiva Baba, in 2010. Ravi Shankar published my book in 2018. I've been around for decades. I've been teaching these great classes, and if you go to VedicAstrologyEssentials.com, you can get this 90% off discount of these 3 great classes, more than 10 hours, guaranteed value. You can check this out. These 3 classes will give you all the necessary tools to begin to learn Vedic astrology. Please find me on YouTube at Sam Jeppy, Vedic Astrology Teacher. On there since 2007, thousands of hours of classes. Also on Facebook at Astrology Teacher, tons of articles updated regularly, and I'm on Instagram at Vedic Astrology 108, ongoing updates and interaction.